It's another day in the TikTok hood. The usual goofs are up to no good. Who could it be? I know it's not me. I'm glad you stepped in so I could be a part of your life so we can discuss all the foolishness, racism, and strife. Don't you wish we could just go back where people were normal and didn't talk smack? Since you are here, since I am here, I'm glad you are my neighbor. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what has happened over the past few days is that it has come to the forefront that we have had a flag that is flying on all of our governmental websites. Now, what is amazing also is that even though this particular flag has been flying on all the governmental websites, there are people that are supporting it, of course, and then there are people who look just like me that are supporting the exact same thing. And what amazes me is that no matter how much you tell a person that looks like me that they're being discriminated against, marginalized, and ostracized, they will never ever agree with you because they want to get on the other team so bad that they're willing to sell out their own people. But if you go to most government websites and look at the particular websites, there are some pictures that are on the websites that look like this. And what is amazing is that this particular flag, under this particular banner of flag, people who look like me were beaten. People who look like me were unalived. People who look like me were discriminated against. But even though we see that on the website, there are people that look like me that still support that. And to make it even worse, now they're making excuses suggesting that the flag has been on all government websites since 2021. If that is true and that be the case, that we not only blame the current administration, but we tell the previous administration that if this is true, we need to have some conversations. But no matter how much we tell people that we have been discriminated against and we see the all-out attack on people of color, there's always people of color that will always defend it. Because when you have the spirit of Samboitis and coonism, you really think that they're on your team, when in reality, they're simply using you. Similar to a one-night stand, a guy tells a girl all she wants to hear so he can obtain something from them. And that is what has happened in this election. But what is amazing is that all of the people that did what they did and said what they said found themselves without a job. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Exhibit A. This is Mr. Tim Scott from the state of South Carolina. He's the one that when the last president actually won the presidency, he stuck his hand out to shake his hand. And wouldn't you know it, that Donnie decided not to shake his hand. So in return, he was uberly embarrassed, but he still kept suffering from Samboitis and coonism all throughout the administration. And then to make matters worse, he said, we don't have a racial problem in America. Might I draw you into the Cosby Kids back in the 70s, which was a cartoon that was very influential, and it taught us numerous good lessons. And the character on the Cosby Show was called Mushmouth. Here, Mr. Scott resembles Mushmouth, ladies and gentlemen. And because Mushmouth, no one ever could understand what he was saying. Amazingly, when we listen to him, when he opens his mouth, nobody ever understands what he's saying, because there's an old saying is that he's talking out the side of his neck. We are only in episode number 1, and we see what's happening. But it is only people who don't like their own, who don't care for their own, or are in denial thinking that they're going to one-up their own, that have been doing what they've been doing. Mr. Scott is a prime example of how you literally can really assume that they've accepted you only after an election to find out that they never included you. For all of the people of color that are watching this and you're deciding that you want to debate policy and say how good it is because you agree with a few things, the bottom line is that he hangs out with a lot of people that use the N-word hard R, and you think he's not racist because he hasn't used it yet. But amazingly, you said that he's done more for people of color than any other president. But now, amazingly, in one fell swoop, he's taking it all away. I say to you that when Jumanji begins to happen in your life, don't call, don't write, don't ask for assistance, because when it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. But somehow you figure that you can keep doing what you're doing, kind of like the character from Django Stephen, played by Samuel L. Jackson, because you basically want to assimilate, because you've assumed that assimilation brings participation. They're using you to further their agenda, and they'll continue to use you as long as you allow them to be used. Strengthen your mind. Use common sense. Now, of course, you're never invited to the picnic or barbecue again. You're not even invited to the inner circle, as we began to discuss. But it's sad to know that there are people like that exist. Not only Tim Scott, but many of you that are still, cooning for the establishment. It's a beautiful day in the TikTok hood. The usual goose are up to no good. Who could it be? I know it's not me. You just make sure it's not you. Episode 1.